Growing up, I thought my brother was the coolest teen ever to walk the wilds of North York, Ontario. He's 9 years older than me. His name's Gabriel, and it was the 90s. And Gabriel was peak cool for this very particular niche of society. So the 90s, like, he was so cool in so many different ways. He always wore Dracar Noir as a cologne, which still gives me the gags, but I would sometimes smell it when he wasn't at home and be like, that's what fucking cool smells like. And he had the fashion down on point, man. He had those button-up shirts like the Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, paisley, kind of flowy, buttoned up right, just so tight. He looked so cool. His friends were even a little bit edgy. One of them he always had jeans that he tapered himself with safety pins all the way up. Commitment. I was like, Aaron Berg, you sick genius of fashion. So glad you came over to hang out with Gabriel. Gabriel had a cool job. He worked at McDonald's, which means that his friends would like cruise by in the middle of the night to get milkshakes. I don't know anything cooler than that. Or I didn't when I was 10. And Gabriel also went to parties sometimes with the Dracar Noir and the shirts and the whole thing. He had a fake ID. One time my parents caught him with cigarettes and I was like, oh, Gabriel, that's so cool. Smoking's awesome. It's not. We learned that a lot tonight in a lot of different ways. But 9 years older, just edgy. He seemed edgy. He wore a leather jacket in the winter without a scarf. All the time. My mom was like, Gabriel, and I was like, Mom, let him. It looks better. God. He also had, one time he got as a gift, this is a lot about his fashion. It's so ripe. My grandmother, who's fancy, bought him a Varney long sleeve shirt. Do y'all remember Varney? Yes. Had those stripes. Fuck, I wish I had one still. I wasn't the only one who thought Gabriel was ultimate cool. My best friend Lee also was enchanted with his coolness. So we would look at Gabriel and try and figure out how we were going to become cool teenagers like that. So when he wasn't at home, we would very thoroughly snoop every part of his room. Like deep snooping, invasion of privacy, very bad, very satisfying. Sometimes we would find nothing. We'd read all his yearbooks, would try and decipher codes of what people had said in the yearbooks to him. If he had a girlfriend, what was happening, we wanted to know everything about him. He didn't share a lot. In his desk drawer at the back, once we found a deck of cards with topless women on them. That was amazing. It was a good find. And then one day we also found a stack of condoms. Huge find. And we counted the condoms, and then we would go back anytime Gabriel went to a party a couple days later and count them again. Just to see. The number, God bless my brother, didn't really diminish, except one time there was one missing. And we're like, oh my God, he had sex. The coolest. He probably just had it in his wallet. I wanted to be a teenager like Gabriel. I wasn't. I spent a lot of my time leading youth group at the synagogue. That was my job. I was a babysitter. I did not do cool things after school and on the weekends like go to parties. I watched Oprah with my girlfriends and volunteered with my mom's Jewish group. There's a lot of volunteering of Judaism things. And giving back to the community. The 90s for women was a sort of dormant era of fashion. A lot of baggy pants. It was bad. It wasn't happening. I wasn't becoming like Gabriel. I wasn't going to parties. I wasn't kissing boys, which is what I wanted to be doing, and I just kind of kept waiting for some kind of cool to kick in. Gabriel went to college in Texas. So cool. I will say this, though, by the way, before he went to school in Texas, when I was still little, this is important. He gave me my first CD, which was Paula Abdul, which I thought was amazing. And a year later, he gave me a CD that he thought we both would like, which was DJ Jazzy Jeff. So that was a big deal, too. But then here's why he went to school in Texas. All that went away, his love of hip-hop, and it was all country. It's all right. Come on. Don't judge him. The Varney. Gabriel goes to school in Texas. He comes home to visit every now and again. And I'm like mid-teens at this point, mid to late teens, maybe 16, 17. And he was never one to be like the big protective brother, probably because there wasn't a lot to protect with your little sister like at the synagogue. But one time he sits me down and he tells me, he says, you know, Ar, there's a difference between making love and having sex. And I was like, what's happening? I was like, what is that difference, Gabriel? He's like, well, one you really like the person, you should probably do that one. I was like, great talk. Oh my God, that was amazing. Yes, wisdom from my cool older brother. I'm gonna make love with someone one day. I get on in the teens, no sex, no making love, no real parties, nothing's happening, no fake IDs, no cigarettes, nothing cool. And then when I was 18, I went to Jerusalem to spend a chunk of time there. I was gonna meet up with friends. It was my first time traveling alone. I was like, maybe the cool is gonna come being a young woman abroad in the Holy Land. I'm just realizing that now. Shit. Damn it. I spent my days wandering the old city, learning about different religions, because I'm interested in that. And my version of cool was spending a lot of time alone. One time I did punch a man on that trip because he was harassing me. That felt cool. I wasn't into cigarettes, but I was like, I need a little edge. This religion stuff, like just maybe be a little bit cool, Arianne. Push yourself a little bit for Gabriel, the legend, you know? So I found these like old Arab dudes and I hung out with them and I smoked the shisha, which felt great. It tasted like candy and I loved it and it felt like it was like a real part of my identity. So that was already feeling edgy. So in the evenings, I would take my book and eat a falafel and I would read and then I would take a quick stop at the crystal shop and then I would go smoke shisha. I don't know why I went to the crystal shop every day. There wasn't a lot of new inventory, but maybe there was something new I would find, like a new special magical thing to make me cooler. I did not find that, but instead I found Moshe, who noticed me right away. And I realized, I was like, oh my God, this is happening. Somebody is making eyes at me. New. He followed me out of the crystal shop. And he introduces himself. He only speaks Hebrew. I only speak English and French. He didn't speak French. And we're trying to communicate. And I'm like, just go with it. Just roll with it. Be adventurous, Arianne. Just get outside of your synagogue comfort zone with Moshe. And so we find a friend of his who works in this jewelry pit that happens at night. And he's going to translate for us. So we stand there. And this man is translating for Moshe and I for like an hour. It's not that interesting, but I'm riveted. And Moshe decides he's gonna run home to get a dictionary so we can be alone together. He says, meet me at the bar in 20 minutes. This is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. I am 18, it's happening. My new brand of cool is living up to my imagination. Of course, I run back to the crystal shop, buy a little gift for Moshe because it'd be rude not to have a gift. It was a tiger's eye crystal for confidence, I think. And then I order a beer at the bar because I imagine that's what Gabriel would do. I'm like, teenagers who are underage order beer in foreign countries. I'm like, I'll have a Corona, please. And I sit there with it. He comes, he orders a Coke. We have this very fragmented dictionary conversation. I'm like, do you like art? Yeah, it was very boring. So he takes me to a very secluded park in Jerusalem. Moshe is religious, he's Orthodox, and he's also partially deaf, and that is why he wasn't in the army. He's 19 years old, he should be in the Israeli Defense Forces. He was like, I'm like, why are you in the army? He's like, oh, it's because I'm deaf, partially deaf. And I just quickly translated that into my head of like, oh, he resisted the army for political reasons. I was like, didn't you? I didn't know how to translate that, so I just figured that's what he meant. Because I knew I had to somehow, like, I was building up a lot of justification to get to what was going to happen in the park, which was my ultimate teenage experience that I had been waiting for. There's not a great word for this, but we're in the park, and it's the first time I'm ever, like, really getting it on with a boy man. And he's has his hands down my pants, and it's, like, all happening. Body parts that have, like, never seen the light of day or seeing, like, the stars of the Holy Land at night. And it is amazing. We don't speak the same language. I know a couple words of Hebrew, and he kept saying in Hebrew, I love you, Arianne. And I'm like, okay, so you don't. But in my head, I'm like, is this making love or having sex? He loves me, but I don't, well, whatever. So it was just this epic night. You know, I had the first of so many things. I was like, maybe this is like of Gabriel caliber coolness, you know? The next day, I wrote in my journal for 17 pages, documenting every tiny thing that happened that day, meticulously. I don't think Gabriel would have done that after he had sex for the first time. Like, no. Gabriel, like, gives iTunes gift cards as gifts that are just, like, here. You know, so he's not, like, so wordy like I am. But it was this epic moment, and it's sort of where I got my cool back. This cool that I had been waiting to feel for my whole teenage life. I finally found it with this weird situation. And now, millions of years later, Gabriel lives in Thornhill. He has the most awesome wife, amazing kids. He's got a van and a really steady job. He thinks downtown smells weird. His jeans are like they're not the right kind of jeans anymore. And you know, he's so awesome. And we're really different. And I think only now, in the past probably 7 years, maybe around since I started telling stories at Raconteurs, have I really become like a little bit of a version of a cool teen that I always wanted to be like Gabriel, and we really went in different directions. And it all came to this amazing moment last October when it was my nephew, Gabriel's son's bar mitzvah, which was kind of like the Golden Globes of my family. Gabriel planned it like he was like sports Pinterest. It was his like grand événement, you know, Corey's bar mitzvah. We're at the party, it's incredible. It's the coming of age ritual for my nephew. It's emotional, it's magical, it's all the things, Jewish, this and that, all the family. And then at the party, Gabriel gets like rip-roaring drunk. I mean, sweating, swaying. I've never seen this. He comes up to me, he's like, I gotta piss so bad. I'm like, no, Gabriel, let's go. Like, I take him to the bathroom, and I get to take care of my big brother, who's so sloppy drunk, like a damn teen. At his own son's bar mitzvah, there was something beautiful and redemptive about it. And in turn, this summer, really against his will, he came to see my solo storytelling show, which details quite intricately all the different times I've had sex or made love. So that's it. Thank you.